You do not ignore messages because you don't care. You ignore them because your nervous system is completely overwhelmed by the crushing weight of constant accessibility. Society tells you a very specific story about what it means to be a good friend. We view communication as a light switch, something you should be able to just turn on whenever you want. So, if you are the type of person who looks at a screen full of unread text messages from people you actually love, feels a crushing weight in your chest, and puts your phone on Do Not Disturb for 3 weeks, society usually labels you as a bad friend. People assume you are flaky, distant, or that you simply do not care about them anymore. But what is actually happening in your nervous system when you completely drop off the grid is a severe, involuntary biological response. You aren't abandoning your life. You are experiencing a survival mechanism, and it is genuinely worth examining. Let's look at the exact moment the phone vibrates. For a normal person, a text message is just a digital sticky note. It is a harmless notification. But for your brain, a text message is a direct urgent demand on an extremely limited emotional battery. In milliseconds, your stomach drops. Your brain's threat detection center immediately calculates the cognitive energy required. It maps out what it will take to open the message, process the emotion, formulate a response, and maintain the resulting conversation. Your nervous system calculates the absolute worst-case scenario. If I reply right now, they are going to reply immediately, and then I will be trapped in a real-time conversation that I simply do not have the energy to perform. You are not avoiding the person. You are avoiding the invisible expectation that you must be on and available simply because you own a smartphone. When your brain realizes that you do not have a single drop of emotional energy left to give, it triggers a biological circuit breaker. Psychologists refer to this extreme reaction as the dorsal vagal shutdown. Your nervous system isn't just tired. It is initiating a forced hibernation. You don't go silent because you want to hurt your friends. You go silent because your brain has completely disabled your social engagement system to keep you from collapsing. Your brain processes socializing as an energy currency, and right now your bank account is severely overdrawn. But why does this happen to you? Why does your battery drain so much faster than everyone else's? To understand this, we have to look at the intersection of demand avoidance and overthinking. People with highly active analytical minds tend to overthink small things. You analyze conversations and possibilities in great detail. So when a text sits in your inbox, you don't just see a question, you see a complex web of social obligations. You begin drafting responses to conversations that haven't even happened yet. This creates a dangerous loop. Cognitive psychologists describe a phenomenon called the illusion of mental progress. Your brain releases small amounts of dopamine during the act of imagined problem solving. You run through the scenario, analyzing every angle of how to reply, and your brain is partially rewarded just for the mental activity itself. Because the thinking feels productive, you become trapped in a dopamine loop of overthinking the reply without ever actually sending it. The guilt builds, but the mental exhaustion of overanalyzing the interaction leaves you paralyzed. But the psychology goes even deeper. For almost everyone who suffers from this paralyzing communication anxiety, the blueprint was drawn long before smartphones ever existed. You are likely the therapist friend. You grew up or spent your early 20s being the absolute rock for everyone around you. Highly empathetic people learn early on that their value comes from how well they can absorb other people's chaos. Maybe you grew up in an environment where you constantly had to manage the emotions of the adults around you. You learned at a devastatingly young age that interacting with people required you to hyperanalyze their mood, their tone, and their expectations to avoid triggering an argument. For you, talking to people has never been relaxing. It has always been a job. You listened to their complaints, you carried their secrets, and you helped them fix their lives. But there is a massive unspoken tragedy to being the strong one. Nobody ever checks if the strong one is okay. Because you spent your life managing everyone else's emotions, you developed a profound psychological bilingualism. You are completely fluent in helping other people survive a crisis. But when it comes to your own exhaustion, you only speak the language of absolute silence. This creates a deeply painful paradox. When you finally hit a wall and stop talking to everyone, you don't actually feel peaceful. You sit in your isolation feeling a crushing amount of agonizing guilt. You stare at the messages. You want to reply. You miss your friends, but the guilt of not replying yesterday makes it physically heavier to reply today. Now, the text message isn't just a notification anymore. It is a massive, glowing source of anxiety. You know that if you reply now, you have to type out a long apology explaining why you took so long, which makes the idea of replying even more exhausting. So you get trapped in an isolation spiral. You convince yourself that your friends are better off without your messiness and that you have to completely fix yourself before you are allowed to speak to them again. And here is the ugliest, most shameful truth of all, the secret you would never admit to anyone. While that person was waiting for a text back, you were active online. You were scrolling through Instagram or watching TikToks with your phone in your hand the entire time. You look at your own behavior and you hate yourself for it. You ask yourself why it is so hard to just type out a 10-word sentence. But when you swipe that notification away and choose to scroll through random videos instead, you are not being malicious. You are desperately trying to reclaim a tiny sliver of your own space. Scrolling is passive. It asks absolutely nothing of you. It doesn't require you to be funny, or supportive, or smart. Leaving a message on unread is your brain's clumsy, desperate attempt to build a boundary in a world that demands 24/7 access to your soul. Strip away all the cultural fluff and the core signal is this: your silence is not a character flaw. It is a nervous system injury. Behaviors that society labels as broken are actually highly evolved nervous system boundaries.